They're trying to make him out to be very much like a family man. I mean, obviously, there's also allegations of affairs and things like that that are coming out as well. And they're trying to just make it like he's just this normal guy. Why? I mean, I guess it's a question we have in any murder case is like, why would you do this? I mean, yes, this reporter exposed you for a lot of things, but you lost. Is this something where he like did he just really think he was going to get away with it by, I mean, not being very incognito in doing this? Or what? I mean, it seems like he did everything possibly wrong to get caught when committing a murder, if in fact he did commit this murder.
It does seem like that, Tony, but the defense is probably going to argue, hey, only a complete madman would go to this length because someone insulted them and called into question their reputation. Certainly there are some folks who would take it to that extreme level, but perhaps defense is going to use the family man narrative and say, hey, Mr. Tellis is not a person who is willing to just go out and commit a murder because someone badmouthed him, and that could have some traction with the jury.
There's so many questions as to where this could go, and if they do try and go down the route of, I mean, because they got to explain the evidence that's in the house, they got to explain the DNA, which we'll talk about in a second. But what roads do you think they could go down to say he was framed? I mean, what would be the reasoning for framing him? Why would someone want to do that?
Yeah, it's not like he was a governor. It's not like he was a federal senator or something like that. He was a local county official. And so, is there really someone out there who would try to frame this guy for murder and then I guess also kill an innocent person in the process? That seems pretty far-fetched, and that's going to be a hard sell for the jury, especially if defense has not identified a possible alternative suspect who could have done this.
Yeah, there's a lot. The DNA underneath the fingernails, that's a big one. Have you ever seen a case where DNA was planted under someone's fingernails and that's what the answer was? It's planted DNA. I mean, this seems like one of those where you got it under your fingernails, you had something to do with the murder.
You've got to imagine there was some human contact between Gurman and Tellis here. Tellis saying if he goes down the route that he was framed, he's going to have to argue that someone not only committed this murder, but somehow got Tellis's DNA and somehow, after the murder, planted that DNA under the fingernails in some surreptitious yet precise fashion.
Mhm.
And I just don't know if a jury's going to jump on board with how far fetched that theory seems.
I mean, do we know if Tellus has any sort of history, any sort of criminal history or anything like that with violence or threats or anything of that nature of his doing?
My understanding is that he was a polarizing figure, especially in his capacity as a public official. Certainly, there were some feathers ruffled and probably verbal altercations, that kind of thing. I'm not personally aware of any history of violence, and that could go in Tellus's favor if there is no such history.
With all that being said, just the polarizing part of him, how do you think he's coming across in court right now? I've been watching his reactions to several things. He's putting on very much the puzzled look, it seems, when pieces of evidence come up, like very confused. I don't think he's overdoing it. I don't think he's underdoing. I kind of feel like it seems kind of authentic, but obviously perception is a very big thing when it comes to the jury, and they're going to watch him. How is he reacting to things? What's your take on that so far?
Yeah, it's a tough issue in terms of a defendant's demeanor because think of someone who was wrongly accused and they get in there and they want to kind of signal through expressions subtly that hey, this wasn't me. What's going on here? I'm very confused, and that does seem to be the presentation of Mr. Tellis. But on the other hand, if a person was rightly accused and they're trying to get out of it, they could put on an act that is sometimes landed on too thick,
Mhm.
and the jury is going to be watching every move of Mr. Tellis during this trial.
There are some allegations that there was some investigative bias going on here as well. One of the investigators, actually someone that Tellis had some interactions with in a negative way previously while he was working in his position for the city. It kind of in some ways reminds me of Karen Reed a little bit. I last night on closing arguments with Vinny. He was joking that maybe it's Proctor's cousin from Karen Reed or something like that. It's all in the family. What's your take on that? I mean, sometimes you do have cases like that where, look, the evidence is pretty damning. Uh, but if you have those investigative issues here after the fact, that can set someone free who maybe otherwise shouldn't be.
I think the Karen Reed case is a great example of something like that. And, in this case, where you do have damning evidence, the defense side has to not make it about that. They got to make it about something else.
Hmm.
And so they've got to really show the jury what this bias looked like, how it could have played out, and try to get the jury to focus on that sort of side piece instead of things like the smoking gun of DNA.
It's a lot to watch in this one. It'll be very fascinating to see where it all ends up. Hey, thanks for checking out the video. Be sure to follow us wherever you download podcasts, and especially Apple Podcasts, where you can get advanced episode and premium content on our premium channel right there. Also, be sure to follow us on social media so you don't miss any breaking updates on the stories that matter to you most. We're on TikTok, X, Instagram, Facebook. Just search Hidden Killers Podcast with Tony Brueski, and you'll find us right there. Again, thanks for watching.